Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Happy Sunday. I'm Angel Qinan. I'm a registered nurse and an actress. And you are watching YouTube Transistors TV live stream. And I'm a proud transgender woman of color, Ali.
Yes! And hi everyone, my name is AllyCat Castle, and as you all know, I'm Angel's older sister, and I'm a proud 41 years old transgender woman of color, and I'm based in Washington, D.C. I'm a makeup artist for the Media News, and I'm also a YouTuber, and I do unboxings and unbagging of makeup as well. Back to you, Angel, yes!
Yes, hi. And of course, we have a very special co-host. And one of our co-hosts is in Filipino time, so she's going to be here soon. But our, one of our beautiful co-hosts here is Miss Faelnar. Hi.
Hi, my name is Faelnar, as Angel mentioned. I am one half of Miss Jarly Talks. I'm a model and an actress, and I am a proud woman of trans experience.
Yes!
So today we have a very special episode because this week we are celebrating Transgender Day of Visibility on March 31st. So we're actually wearing like our trans colors here. So Ali, why don't you start?
So first, because the topic for tonight is the power of visibility, as well as we are celebrating the Transgender Day of Visibility on March 31st, let me give you two definitions of what visibility is and what Transgender Day of Visibility is about. So first, the meaning of visibility. According to Oxford Languages, visibility is the state of being able to see or seen. And according to Tdov.org, the International Transgender Day of Visibility is an annual holiday celebrated around the world. Yes, it's international. The day is dedicated to celebrating the accomplishments and victories of transgender and gender nonconforming people, raising awareness of the work that is still needed to save trans lives. Yes. So, what do you think of those meanings?
Well, I think it's nice to have like a day dedicated for Transgender Day of Visibility, especially because we're still misunderstood. you know, up to now, people still ask so many questions. People are still not sure of our existence or disapprove. So I think it's good to have a day of being seen and being visible and being proud to be transgender.
Oh, I love that. And Miss Lee?
Um, so for me, there's a huge importance of visibility. I feel like before when I was just starting a transition, I didn't have anyone to look up to. But now that we're doing Trans Day of Visibility, it's at least the future generations have people to look up to, or like we're trying to get ourselves represented not only through stereotypical things that normal cis heteronormative people would think of. We're able to create our own narratives and own our stories the way that it should be told. Like Angel said, there's still a lot in the population that misunderstands us. So it's nice to be visible and to show like that to other people, especially those who think who know they're trans but are still afraid to be their authentic selves. Like at least they have us, so that they know that they're not by themselves, and they're people like us that can help and support them through their journeys.
You're on mute, Ali.
Sorry, there were sirens here. Oh my gosh, Lee, very well said. So now, my first question is, after, of course, talking about the meanings, by the way, to all our viewers, please feel free to ask questions.
Hello, everyone.
And talk to us and let us know about your thoughts and concerns. Angel, can you say something first, because there are sirens here going on?
Okay, well, let me say hi to the viewers that are here. Tactical Gaming, hello. Kuya Ramfer is here, hello with hearts. Kian James Sayabok Tamsakdan. And Kuya John Suarez is here. Hello. And of course, Julie Raya Sen, good evening to you also. And yeah, so those are our initial ones. So we are live. So if you're seeing the comments and I greeted you, it's because we are all live and we are seeing all of your comments. And if you have questions, please feel free to ask that to us and feel free to join into the conversation. If you don't agree with anything or if you agree with anything, feel free to just comment them as well. So is there still silence there?
Oh, now, no more sirens. Yes, thank you for that, Angel. And thank you to everyone so far in here. So my question is, what makes one visible?
I love that question. Like that's one of the 3 questions that were asked during when I was joining Quest.
Oh my gosh, all the questions that I've been asking are questions that you've gotten on your pageants, Lee. That's so funny. So Lee, do you want to answer that then, since you've already received that question before?
Well, it was one of my top 3 finalists, Maya, that answered that. Visibility is it's being there and letting other people know that you're there, and also being able to be a support system to future generations, hopefully. I've always said like the reason why I kind of feel like I need to be in entertainment is because I want to leave a legacy and promote like kindness and love and understanding of the trans community. And without visibility, I don't think that's possible. I don't think it would be easier for us here in the United States to have laws that would help protect our rights as trans people. And like that visibility actually helps us be more okay and know that it's not as difficult as it was before, because like let me tell you, it was harder. It was already super harder like 10-12 years ago.
Oh, and that's the reason why it's very important for us to also thank the people who came before us, because if not because of them, if not for them paving the way, then we will not be enjoying the lives that we have today. So Angel, how about you? What makes one visible?
Well, let me just add to like for everyone who doesn't know, Lee is my trans mom, and I just became I just transitioned 8 years ago. So Lee's concept of like people being more visible before the 8 years ago was a lot different from 8 years ago, and is a lot different now from now as well. So for me, being visible is being seen, being able to tell your authentic story, being not afraid to show who you really are. When I was transitioning, or when I was new in transitioning 8 years ago, that's around the time when Gina Rosero came out at TED Talks. And I think she helped me put into perspective on like not being scared to be out in public, that people know that I'm trans. Because at that time, it was, as what Lee said, it's a little bit of a different times. That was before Caitlyn Jenner came out. That was before, I think it was, people are still very more confused basically with transgender people at that time. And I think with our visibility in terms of the entertainment industry, in terms of, like a lot more actors coming out in all different races, I think we're a little bit more understood now, but I think we still have to be visible. We still have to like showcase like different types of people, different types of transgender people, different shades of gray in the transgender community. So I think we still have a long way, but it's important to be visible so that people know that we're all also different and unique.
Oh my gosh, how can I further answer that question? Well, as you all know, Angel is my trans mother. And that means Lee is technically my transgender grandmother, even if Lee is the youngest here and Angel is younger than me. But if not because of Angel, of me looking up to her, then I don't think I will have the courage to be able to embrace my true self as a transgender woman. And that's the reason why visibility is important. Our role models are important. The people that we look up to, that basically are not afraid and are courageous to live their most authentic selves, is really the people who inspire and shape the community. And sometimes it's hard, because with certain individuals, especially from our ancestors, such as Miss Sylvia Rivera back in the day, fighting for our rights during like the gay liberation in New York City. They actually had to go through the hardships, the challenges, to prove that we also belong to the society and we also have a place in the community, and that we deserve the right to live. We deserve to live our lives, and we deserve to live our truth. Yes. Speaking of, hi, Miss Sonia, the only one.
Mabuhay, welcome to the very slow internet of Manila, the Philippines. And I'm Sonia, the only one, and I am a fashion stylist, and I come from Japan, Yokuso, and welcome to Transistor TV. Mabuhay.
So we just answered the question, Ate Sonia, what makes one visible? So I want to ask you the same question. What makes one visible?
Well,
as a transgender woman, or as living your truth, or being visible, being seen. The meaning again of visibility is the state of being able to see or seen. So what makes one visible, or how can one person be visible? Whether that be whatever kind of person you are, whatever race, age, just how can one person be seen? What makes one visible?
One makes one visible if you are late in your meeting. You are so visible. Right now, I'm late, so I'm visible. So that's one thing. I'm sorry. But what makes one, you stand out? You stand out your personality. You stand out your own character amongst the rest. You don't stand. You try to blend, but you make yourself visible, and you make yourself clear to all people that I am different, but I have meaning in my life, and I make things visible to see the inside of me and the outside. And that's making yourself so visible to the people.
Oh, thank you so much, Ate Sonia. Exactly, I agree. Okay, now, Kuya John Suarez has a question. And by the way, I like your outfit, Ate Sonia. And Kuya John's question is, do you ladies generally approve of how trans folks are being represented in the media? Well, if I could answer that question. So basically, as someone who basically works for the media news, and as a proud and out transgender woman of color, or celebrating trans experience, yes, I can say that I'm glad that we are actually being given an opportunity to basically have or celebrate the space with other folks as well. And we definitely can see that we're also being given a lot of opportunities, especially with shows such as Pose, and that also celebrates the history of how it was back in the day of our transgender brothers and sisters living their lives, and the things that they had to do in order for us to understand what the history is of how our community lived then. So I would say that there's a very good representation now as well. And there should definitely be more representation, but I think so far we are on the right track.
Well, because I'm also an actress, I kind of dabble in the entertainment industry, and even although it's getting better, and I'm very happy with that, because now we have like Pose and other shows, I feel like I guess the uniqueness and the big majority, or not majority, but like the wide spectrum of transgender stories. Like for example, in the US media, I feel like Asian representation in general is not as big yet. Like I don't think it will be nice to have our stories told, like the transgender Asian community, in terms of how family is super important to us. I mean, I love watching La Veneno, for example, in HBO, because it kind of have like a little bit of this, like the Spanish community and like family is there as well. But I think we kind of have our own, like some sort of like unique stories also, that it's not, some of it are not portrayed, let's say at Coast or La Veneno, and there's still a lot more other unique stories that can be put out there. So I think it's a progress. I think we're doing good, but let's keep it going and keep supporting transgender in media so that we can see more authentic stories.
So basically, do I generally approve? Let me just say this. From back when I started transitioning, the stories that are written for trans folk have changed. Like people like Janet Mock, Our Lady J, they were able to not only share our stories, like, because like it took so long for us to be at the table with writers so that we can write our own stories. It was so long, like it normally was just like six cis folk that wrote stories about trans people, and that felt super inauthentic. I would still think that that's the case in other countries. Maybe like, but at least here in the US, like there's a movement where we're being pushed and we're able to write our own voices. So when it's a trans person writing a story about a trans person, then I feel like that's a great representation in media for trans people. But if it's not, then I think that's sort of problematic. In a way, it's a fine line sometimes. When it comes to more conservative media, I feel like they still misunderstand a lot of trans issues and trans stories, which brings it back to the first question, which Ally asked, why is it important to be visible? It's important because we need to make sure that the narratives that are important, that are real, that are true, are told correctly by trans people as well. And it's still a long way to go, but the development has been huge in my, like, in the past 5-10 years has been huge, and it feels more hopeful. Like I feel like there's a chance now rather than before, that it felt very, if I watched stuff like that was 10 years ago, I'd be like, what the heck?
It's always the big reveal that it's
You know.
trans. It's like, yeah, like the stories have changed from before to now.
So in a way, I'm thankful, but there's still a long ways for us to go. And that's why we're doing Transistors TV as well, because we're here to create that change, and we're here to push for that change, not only in the US, but also hopefully in the Philippines.
Exactly. And I just want to add on to what Lee said. I'll be honest with you, to all of you, English is not my first language, but the reason why we do our best to speak English, because at the end of the day, it's not how perfect of English you speak, but it's the message you convey. And we will not stop as transgender immigrants, now living in the US, of course, will not stop to celebrate where we come from, and at the same time celebrating the space that we have today. But we're never gonna stop until we are heard and until we are seen. Okay, Adi Sonia, how about you?
Oh,
And that's regarding about how the transgender community or our community is being represented in the media. So how will you answer that?
As well, we already have got a long way, but we're not yet out of the woods. But at least we're in there, and people are noticing, and we are now visible, and they know about the different, about our community. So how we are represented, there's been lots of representation in all forms, shapes, and sizes. So people are getting to know what our community is. Not like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, there is a stereotyping. Parang, this only. But up to now, that 30 years ago, they still look to that and connect it to now. But as the community is growing bigger in media, in fashion, in also in the workplace, in the corporate world. So they're seeing, this is a bigger, getting bigger community. So yes, in media, especially in media, there's a very famous media personalities here in the Philippines that get, I as we know who is that personality. She's very big here, and and in their own right, they have their own successes in our community. So yes,
Okay.
very
Yes.
well represented.
Okay. So Kuya John actually asked, most stories I see, or commented as well, most stories I see on TV which have transgender representation are not mainstream. And what's worse is how trans people are also treated in sports. Why do you think that our community is never put on the mainstream? Well, for me, I think it's because of the uncertainty, and that's the reason why perhaps they never really highlight the transgender representation. Like for me, um, like we just had like a senator who's transgender here in the United States, and she's from Delaware, and she's a transgender woman, a proud and out transgender woman. Um, but she was not celebrated. It was not like as if all the mainstream media is talking about her. So for me, that's big news. But why are they not talking about her? So I am on the same boat with you, Kuya John. And so, what's your take on that, Lee Angel?
Like I said, there's like sorry. Let me just. I had to take a deep breath. I'm trying to not. I'm trying to be as politically correct as I can right now. Almost half of the country, almost half of the country, are super conservative. They use the Bible against us. They don't try to get to know trans people. The media that most conservatives watch are against us and portray us in a different light. And there's just a lot of like, that's why I think like it's still mistreated. Unfortunately, that's going to be 40%, 50% of your audience watching mainstream TV. We can still be splattered here and there. I know like one of our friends, Nikki Andres, is in a, is it CBS show? It's,
One
I
day at a
forgot, like
time.
one day at a time. Like they're there as a guest, has a guest spot there. Alexandra Billings is in the Connors. So there are people in the US, but then that's like you're gonna lose 40%, 50% of viewership. You know what I mean? So it's still money talks. So if money, like if you're gonna lose that viewership and you're not gonna make money, then why are we going to be put in those types of areas? You know what I mean? So basically, that's what I think why it's still being mistreated predominantly. But you know what? Small steps can like if we all move in little steps, that's gonna be a giant leap. Like one person with like a little step and like make it a million of us, then that's gonna be a lot.
I really am on the same boat with you, Lee. Um, Angel, did you want to say anything after what Lee said?
I agree, and again, we're kind of new. We're like just like recently becoming more visible in the media, so it's still kind of it's a work in progress. As what Lee said earlier, like in terms of writers on the table, Janet Mock is being given an opportunity with that right now. So there's a lot more like transgender people in media now. The Wachowski like came out as trans, so hopefully I'm looking forward to hearing more from that. Like in Sense8 they had like a transgender character. Alexander Gray is gonna come out on MacGyver. I mean, there are some mainstream transgender characters already out there. Um, uh, it's we have to support them so that, as what Lee said, money talks. So if kind of it's being supported, if people are talking about it, if the show becomes more successful, then hopefully the supporters of the transgender community will be supported more in terms of being placed on those TV shows and news media or other types of media.
Okay. Yes. Wow. We're so serious right now so far, but then again, that's part of, the topic tonight. I mean, it's a topic that's very close to our hearts because it's our community that we're talking about. Miss Julie Ryerson said as well, even with media attention, our group is too small to really demand it. Like what you just said, Angel. One rep out of hundreds used to call that token. Well, so now that's the reason why we need to talk about how important allies are. And can our allies be visible as well? For me, it's very important if our allies could be visible because, again, we're like the least, I think we're the smallest population in the country, being, the transgender community. So if we actually have allies who believe in our advocacy and believe in the truth that we live, then that would definitely be a big help. And like one thing of being an ally is, like having a friend who's not trans or gender non-conforming. The fact that you support us, that's already being an ally, And so how important our allies are when it comes to visibility.
I mean, Ryan Murphy was the one who produced posts written by Steve Canals. So without like people like that, like without our queer friends who try to understand us, without our cis hetero people that fight for us, it's not going to be the same. I feel like allies are super important. We super appreciate them, especially when they make sure that they don't use like what who said that, like as tokens, like we're not seen, like we're not tokenized, especially, and we're just given a platform and we're allowed to take space. So thank you everyone who's here, who's watching and trying to understand more about us, because once you understand us more, then there's more ways for you to actually fight for us if you hear something that's you think is offensive.
I so agree with you.
I think allies are very important, especially if our allies are the ones like who are up already there because they're already given the chance to be more visible and be on the table. Like Lee and I, when I started transitioning, we were part of like this show supposedly for models who are transgender people, and we started from scratch, like kind of like just doing it ourselves, having a reel. The producer CC pretty much pitched it to here in LA with 44 Blue, a production company, and then they had to pitch it to a bigger one, which is Whoopi Goldberg, which ultimately was, I think, the biggest producer for that show. And that's when it kind of got absorbed for Oxygen Network. And unfortunately, at that point, they did hire more visible transgender people out there already. So Whoopi Goldberg gave the opportunity for that show to happen. And I think she also gave the opportunity to, correct me if I'm mistaken, but to interview Dominique and Ashley, late Ashley at the View, which is a bigger platform on being heard in national TV. So that's speaking of mainstream. I mean, The View is also one of the mainstream talk shows that we have out there, and being given a platform to be able to speak in front of everybody, that will help our community as well. And then Isis King, I remember watching KTLA News, which is the local news here in LA that I was watching, and I saw them on it. And I think, again, if not for those big allies that we have that are not necessarily transgender people, if they're out and proud to support us, then I think the more visible we can be, and so on and so forth.
Oh, by the way, before we continue, we just want to ask again, if you're enjoying our conversation, please don't forget to basically give us a thumbs up. So if you're in the live chat, just press the X and just press the thumbs up as well. Yes, that would be a great support in our community, especially on the important things that we're talking about every Sunday. So just let me know, Ate Sonia, if there's something that you wanted to say as well, or if you have an input. about what we're talking about?
Oh, just simple as that. Keep growing, keep voicing out your what you believe in and what you stand for. And allies are these are the these are the roots. We are the root. We can be the roots also of a big tree that will grow and grow and grow, and more leaves and more leaves and more fruits will bear. So just keep on. And this is the best time to do that. This is it.
Okay, so this is the best time, as you're saying. So I also want to ask, what are the challenges of being visible? So I would say, if I could answer that question, one of the challenges of being visible is the fear of the unknown, the fear of what society will perceive us to be. And when things are not certain, or when things are new in the eyes of most people, then usually there's a tendency that you pause and kind of question. And sometimes they'd rather be quiet and not say anything because they're not familiar with it. So for me, that's one of the challenges of being visible, is the fear of the unknown, or the fear of uncertainty.
Um, so before, a few years back, like I think like the biggest hurdle of being visible is like you might lose a lot of privileges that you have if you just like remained stealth or whatnot. Like for instance, you might lose your job, you might be treated differently by like the people that are surrounding you, especially if they don't understand you. um I think in one of the documentaries that I watched about Dominique, Angel mentioned, they have a bodyguard. They hired a bodyguard that they walk that protects them around in New York, walking in the streets. Especially during the former administration, that was like probably one of the most deadliest years for trans women of color. So being visible also, like there's more danger of you being clocked, being hurt, um, and all of that. But it's like it's a small, not a small price to play. It's kind of just necessary. Like at the moment, it's just necessary so that you can create that normalcy. It sucks that we're kind of forced in that role, but it's important. So
Yes, I actually can agree with you. I actually have an example of that, Lee. When I actually used to work for this French brand, a French company, when I lived in New York City, I was like the first person to come out as a transgender woman in the company. And then when I, again, just for point of reference of being an example, so they asked me, is this one day you're gonna come to work as Alvin? Because that was my name before I transitioned as with my legal name as AllyCat. And then one day when you don't feel like coming as Ally, you're gonna come as Alvin. And I said, this is not a show. This is my life, So sometimes, unfortunately, we have to be the guinea pig. But sometimes if we think that being the guinea pig will be the sacrifice that you have to do today in order for things to be normalized tomorrow, then perhaps some way, somehow, I've done my part in paving the way for the next generation. Angel, was there anything you wanted to say?
I think one of the prices to pay is sometimes people feel like just because you're public, then they can ask you like vulgar questions. I mean, I think you're still entitled to privacy on some stuff. And as what you guys mentioned in terms of safety, in terms of losing the privileges of, let's say, for example, traveling, it's hard, like seeing some of the big actors or big personalities out there who would, let's say, go to the Middle East, and just because they are known, then they wouldn't be accepted to come in. So those like fear that it might happen to you also if you're more visible, it's something that you kind of have to think about also as part of your mental health and your life, if you want to have that as part of your life, if you become very popular and big and everybody knows you already.
I love that. Actually, I like what Jared said, Life in Plastic or Doll Collector. He said, being visible makes you a target. Just like what you're talking about, Angel, especially if you're a big person traveling to conservative countries and so forth and so on. And Miss Julie said, the challenge is it can be negative, but most I've found visibly to be positive. I mean, more than anything, visibility, just like to continue with what Lee said, visibility is the key to normalcy. Unless we become visible and unless we show to the world who we are and live our truth, whatever that means maybe, then that's the more of us being out there, then the more people or the community will understand who we are as a community. But the lesser of us being visible, then the lesser of us also being understood in the community. I mean, in the society rather. So I want to ask Ate Sonia, because you know what, she's her ate. You know what, she has really like have paved the way as well for us. You know, I myself, I'm in my 40s. I'm not sure if Ate Sonia is in her mid 40s or late 40s, but if you want to really, okay, if I'm in her 50s. So Ate Sonia, I want to ask, how is it then during your time, you know, living as a proud the proud being that you are, because back then there's no such word yet as transgender, you know, like back then,
Yes.
how was it, and why
How
did
was
you
it?
choose to live your truth? Why did you choose to be visible during your time, even when the world was more conservative then?
Yes, dear. Yes, dear. It was very challenging challenging years of growing up in a society that is so very conservative, and you don't know how will they accept you. But you know, I'm so happy that in this lifetime I am seeing progress, that there are so many voices heard, people are out there, and that's I'm for me, you people achieve it, then I have already achieved that. So for
So
me, as growing up, yes, the fear of there's always a fear, there's always a nervousness na it can be in one of your family members, it can be in your neighborhood, because you know, on the 80s, on the 70s, it's just like, yeah, as they see you, as they see you, and you are, and you are. So
I
you're
want to
very
ask you then.
careful.
Yeah. So I want to ask you then, can you please give me an example of the difference of being during your time when you transition, of the difference between living as a transgender woman in the Philippines as well as in Japan? Because you worked in Japan for 13 years. So can you please give me
Oh my God, there is a big difference. Big
okay, so
difference.
can you give me a quick summary of that? Like,
The,
you know,
the quick,
like a
the
bullet
quick,
point.
the bullet point is that in there is no when there is no you know, people in Japan, they treat you as equal.
So why
There's
is that? So
no
why do they treat you as equal in Japan? Is it because of the religion? Is it because of their beliefs?
because of their beliefs, and of course, as I've said, we are foreigners, and they have respect for foreigners, who are they're very interested in, oh, they are foreigners, so they're meeting a different kind of personality. Rather in the Philippines, of course, in the Philippines during those days, it was really a very not difficult, but of course it was different from now.
So
As
do you
what
think
we
that
how is it
religion again?
different?
I want to ask you. Do you think religion again has something to do with it? Because we come from a very religious country, and you also being a very religious person. Same thing with me, as with
Yes,
most of us here. Um,
yes,
so do you
yes.
think that affects that?
Religion, culture, and how they treat people, and how they were they were taught how to respect
Mm-hmm.
the personality, the person, and
Okay. So now I want to ask
the
again.
discipline, the
Right.
discipline.
So now I want to ask then. So you still practice a very strong faith. So you're being very visible, but do you think that one person can still have a very strong faith even if they're visibly living their most authentic selves?
Yes. Yes.
Would you say it's
Yes.
because it's between your relationship between you and God?
Yes. That's important. Your relationship with the Lord. That's the very thing. Because He is the only one you can hold on to in everything that will happen in your life. So despite whatever community, whatever kind of person you are, or whatever religion, you hold on to your what you believe in.
And if I could actually just add on to that, I myself, right? I mean, I'm a proud and out transgender woman. And living in the United States, I've also met a lot of people, especially in our age category and younger, that a lot of people here don't practice faith. But you know what? That doesn't stop me from being visible as an out transgender woman, but also being visible of how important faith is to me. So do you think being visible in your faith and visible in living your truth is something that you can definitely live in your everyday lives? What do you think, Angel, and what do you think, Lee?
Well, that's why I think it's important for us to be visible with that, because as what I said earlier, like, the shows that we are seeing in the media right now, it might not reflect our stories also, or like in terms of, as this is one example. So not just the family, but also the faith. And so I think, um, unfortunately, in the LGBT community, yes, there are a lot of people who actually do not, um, or have ill feelings about religion. So I'm not even going to say not believe, because it's actually the opposite. They hate religion. I'm pretty much one of those that when I actually graduated college, I stopped believing. At some point, it really took me a while before I actually uh, came at peace with my faith again. And I think it's very important that that's something that we talk about and that we are visible about. And we have that on one of our shorts, like actually on the weekends, like a worship weekend, so that we can talk about that. And so that people would know that there are people who are God-fearing, even if we are on the transgender community. And 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 also actually the correct way of following Jesus is like kind of living like a Jesus life, like the way that he lived.
Like, what would Jesus do, right? Oh, Lee, was there anything you wanted to say?
Let me. Okay, so this. I'm trying to be as concise as possible. Religion is so much different, in my opinion, than faith and spirituality. There's like different types of religions. And I feel like a lot, like when Native Americans have two spirits. So trans people with different types of ethnicities and cultures, especially with places that haven't been colonized, they still revere trans people as spiritual beings because they're able to go deep and spiritual within themselves and know their authentic selves. They're very introspective, and that gives, I feel like that gives a lot of trans people a lot of wisdom. So I like, as somebody who's very active in the church that I go to, I wouldn't say that I like practicing a religion per se, but I like having my connection with my higher power, and I like having a faith, and I would love to make Christianity less as something that can cause trauma, because it's been used so long to attack and cause us to feel less than or not worthy. And that's really not the case. It's just a perversion that has been done by people so that they would have more power against us with something that they don't really understand completely. And unfortunately, that's the case. But if people like us, Ali, Ate Sonia, Angel, are able to, make a change, then as minute it might be right now, it might be a bigger tidal wave in the future. So yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
love that. Okay.
Yes.
See, Lee always puts everything into perspective. So now I want to ask How about let's celebrate some successes? Because you know what, TDOV or Transgender Day of Visibility is also a celebration of us internationally living our lives. So, what are some successes that we have as the transgender community? And can you please give us some examples? Well, for me, for example, again, like I wanted to go back to, like, for example, Sarah McBride, right? She's the first transgender state senator in US history. So for me, that's my big win. The fact that I moved here to Washington, D.C. in December 2019 and working for the media news and hearing that, that is my big win. Moving here is kind of like living in the nation's capital and knowing that someone in the Senate, you know, is a part of us. Same thing from back in the Philippines, Miss Geraldine Roman, who is a politician, being the representative of Bataan. She's also the first transgender person elected in the Congress of the Philippines. So for me, this is amazing. So this is a celebration because we're also now in politics. We're not just like in like entertainment, but we are now also, because of them, our voices some way somehow can be heard up there. So for me, that's like one of the successes that I want to celebrate today. Do you have any role models that you want to celebrate and examples?
I want to celebrate the nurses that I know who are doing very well in healthcare. And I know this because, for sure, because when I actually lost my job during the pandemic, when our department closed, I had to reach out to a lot of the nurses that I know out there. And some of them are like way high up there. Like, you know, like Jackie Barras is one of the transgender women that we interviewed on our highlighting individuals that making a difference in our community. And she is the president for the Philippine Nurses Association of New Jersey. Miss Sarah Parlo, our nurse anesthetist, that we also interviewed there. Barbara Rosses is a teacher in West Coast University because she is also a nurse practitioner. And then, of course, Jelu David, I asked her a lot of questions in terms of nursing informatics because that's one of the specialties that I wanted to go to in nursing. And then Maya Bisana is a charge nurse in Kaiser here in Los Angeles, California. And she is also taking her master's. Then all of her other friends were also like in the nursing field, like Norika Clam, Giselle, Buenaflor, JC, Paolo Badok in UK. So there's a lot of us nurses out there who are making a difference in the community, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. We let me add Camille Anderson also, like Queen USA, Queen Universe. So there's a lot of transgender women out there who are helping other people in healthcare.
Oh my gosh, so we've celebrated some politicians. We've celebrated people, the transgender community as well in the healthcare department. Miss Lee, how about you? Anyone in your industry as well as Ate Sonia that we can celebrate?
Well, let me just highlight a few people. Like one of them is Karina Samala.
Yes!
Mother Karina is one of the Filipino pioneers here in Los Angeles. She is part of the Imperial Court of Los Angeles. She also is part of the Trans Advisory Board in West Hollywood. I think she's everybody's mother. She's created like pageants where a lot of us have joined. And she's just there to help. She's helping with policy so that like they can keep like trans people safe, especially when it comes to law enforcement and stuff like that. So I love Mother Karina. And let me also mention Gina Bigum of the Los Angeles LGBT Center. She is one of my co-facilitators before, and now she's the head of translounge.org, which is probably the best resource for trans people in, if not in the country, the world. So, and it's free to sign up. So if anyone's here that's trans, you can go to translounge.org. They have so many different workshops that help you with stuff that you want to improve as a trans person. It's totally safe. It's for all trans folk, non-binary folk. And Gina thank you for all the work that you do. And of course, to a lot of people in the past, like Janet Mock. I'm such a huge fan of Janet Mock, and Tricha Dapet Charat of Thailand. She probably was the one that made me, like, she was the one that I kind of looked up to, probably not in the right way, but I really looked up to her a lot during my transition, and I kind of want to emulated her transition as well. Not, that might not be healthy, but you know, still, like, if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't like be like, hey, this is somebody that I idolize and I kind of want to become throughout my transition.
And there you go. And that's the reason why role models are very, very important, because we basically they kind of like lead the path for us in order for us to have almost like a roadmap, you know, on like the footprints that they've left behind. Yes, they became like you know, like fishers of men and things like that. Ate Sonia, how about you in your industry? Who have been role models?
Oh, I can name 1,000 names regarding
So how about
in
a
my
few?
industry.
Just give us a few. The ones who really just touched you.
Ahead of my time, if you don't know these girls, this is Miss Lady Valerie. Lady Valerie owns orchestra. She is the lead orchestra of an orchestra in the Philippines, and she was the first transgender I saw. So she was so beautiful. She was like a look, and she has an organ. She has a 21-piece band, and she plays in the biggest hotels in Manila. And I mean, wow. And I want to if I'm gonna perform, I want to be like her. And then there is Eddie Badayo, the avant-garde Filipino designer, who passed away recently also. And of course, my OFW entertainers in Japan, who each of us really idolized, and really was, each of them were role models, and the performers of the Ramon Obusan dance troupe, who really paved the way for us to be entertainers, not just in Japan, but all over the world. The Filipino entertainers that I really look as role models, and the designers and everybody. And of course, you three, in your generation, in this lifetime, I look up to you. You inspire me.
And
you
I
inspire
to
me.
you.
And you inspire me. You're feeding me things. You're feeding me things. And we're here to motivate. Diba? We're here to motivate. Yeah,
See, this is why it's important to be visible.
Exactly. So now I want to ask, so what for you in your experience being visible, do you think has been your biggest contribution in the community, to the world? So what do you think as a visible trans person, or as Lee was saying, how do you call that, Lee? Because I would say I'm a proud transgender woman of color. So what has it been to you living your life visibly that you are most proud of?
Angel.
Yeah, because Angel is your trans daughter. So basically, I think if I were to answer that question, I would say that the will to not stop from like fighting for the things that we believe in, you know, like for example, we may be a small channel, but we're very thankful for everyone who supports us every week. But we will not stop unless we are heard, and unless our community is given more opportunity. And I hope, like, just like what Angel was saying, if I could piggyback on that, and that's my dream, is that's true. How about the Asian Americans, the Asian heritage, living their most authentic selves, you know, in the transgender community, being celebrated too? Because I think from all aspects, everyone has been celebrated except Asians. And I would want to see a representation on that. So any one of you that you're most proud of since living your life visibly? Angel, how would you answer that?
I don't know, because I don't really want to like keep tabs on the success I have. But since Lee said me, so I want to say Lee also, and Ally, and of course Ate Sonia, because I think in the end, we are a community and we kind of elevate each other. And as long as we stay positive and like influence each other to stay positive, then I think our community gets more elevated. Like for example, with Lee, I know Lee is my trans mom, but I think like when I started with modeling, we kind of like started influencing each other and be more active and being more visible in the community that way. Of course, Ally, like we have this Trans Sisters TV, and like when you came out, we all kind of like wanted to be more visible with each other, and we kind of help each other out. So I think it's not just one person. So I don't want to say that it's a credit to me, because I think it's I think just staying positive is the despite the hardship of living as a trans person, I think staying positive is the biggest success that we can all have, and being influences with each other to remain positive and elevate the community.
Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah, I mean,
yes,
if I can just like also add, the thing that I think also I'm most proud of is I appreciate everything that the people that like everything that was done by the trans folk that paved a way for us to live a better life. I want to hear their stories. I want to continue to tell their stories, no matter how sad and how painful it is when I hear their stories. Like Reese Ernst has a little like 5-minute, 4-minute documentaries of people from the past, like from the 1800s.
Yeah, like Marsha P. Johnson.
Like older, like or like early, like it's called We've Been Around. And like one of the stories that hit my heart so much is Albert Cashier, who is a trans man who joined the infantry in the 95th Infantry in 1856, I believe. So like their story, like their persistence to serve the country, was something that was like really, inspires me. And like even though like when they found out that Albert was a trans man, they wanted to strip away his pension when they found out. But his infantry, like the people that he worked with during the war, stepped up. They stepped up so that he can keep his pension. They made sure when he passed away that he was given a proper burial, military burial, decorated, and also kept his name instead of like their dead name. So I feel like stuff like that, if we continue to appreciate the things that our predecessors have done for us, and we keep on telling their stories, then we would appreciate the advances that we have, and we can, and we know like we're going to be resilient when we fight for our rights, especially in the future, in the whole country and also the world.
Yes, and the universe. Okay. Sonia, was there anything you wanted to say, or
what's your biggest achievement, Sonia?
Your biggest achievement?
Being visible.
Of course, my biggest achievement is my surgery.
Yes, that's true. Why not? Right? Celebrate this. That's the power of choice. The power of you doing what you think is best for you, not because of what you think society says what's best for you. So I respect you with that, Ate Sonia, so much.
Yes.
Okay, I love that surgery. Let's keep it real. Okay, so now time for final thoughts, and also if you want to promote yourself as well. Lee, Ate Sonia. Final thoughts and quotes about our topic today, about being visible.
Oh, for me, being visible, just do and what you believe in, and make sure that you don't hurt other people. Just be nice, be good, and you do what is right for your own self and for the community. And at the end of the day, we're all people. So just do what is right, and just do it and what you believe in. And as I've said in Japanese, I have a word, it's makeru ga kachi. It means to lose means to win.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
Makeru ga kachi.
Okay, and again, they're gonna find you for Sonia the Only One, right?
Sonia the Only One, Sonia Agbayani, Instagram, Facebook, and of course, Transistor TV.
Yes. Miss Lee, your final thoughts and your final quotes, and also please promote yourself.
Um, okay, so let me just leave you guys with something that Janet Mock said. And I love Janet Mock. She's like, so one of the things that she wrote in her book, Redefining Realness, is if a trans woman knows, if a trans woman who knows herself and operates in the world as a woman is seen, perceived, and treated and viewed as a woman, isn't she just being herself? She isn't passing. She is merely being. I just like it. It made me just like not want to fit to the norms of society, so that they would accept me as a woman. But it made me just more confident to be my authentic self because I'm living my truth and I'm worshiping my higher power because of that. Lee065 on Instagram, Miss J Harley Talks on YouTube, and of course Transistors TV.
Oh, I love that. Okay, now it's time for me to give my thoughts. Well, I'm gonna say, I am what I am. I am my own special creation. So come take a look. Give me the hook of the ovation. Yes, I am what I am. Who you are, celebrate your visibility. We will celebrate you and thank you for celebrating with us. And again, thank you so much. My name is AllyCat Castle. Please support my YouTube channel as well, where I do makeup, skincare, fragrance reviews, and unbagging and unboxing. And I'm giving it back to you, Angel. Yeah!
And for my last thoughts of the evening, thank you very much for everybody who's here. That we are visible to you. And I hope you make us more visible to everybody by sharing, by liking, by leaving comments. And I hope you learned how important it is for us to be visible and how important it is for us to celebrate Transgender Day of Visibility. It's not something that we just want to do just for the sake of. I think it's still a long way for the transgender community. We have gone this far. We've been progressing, but there's still a lot more to come. So it's still very important for everybody to be visible and be authentic in that visibility, so that maybe we could have a bigger and better and brighter future. I thank you.
Yeah. Be visible and you'll be seen. Unless you're visible, you will not be seen. So just live your life to the best that you can and live your truth.
Yeah. So my Instagram is Angel Qinan. And of course, I'm here at Transistors TV every Sunday for our Heart to Heart Talk, 6 p.m. Los Angeles, California, 9 p.m. Washington DC, and New York City, and 9 a.m. in Manila. So I hope you guys can join us. If you're watching this not on the live stream, if you can join us on the live stream, that will be amazing. But if not, you can always watch it also forever after the live stream. And feel free to comment and we'll reply on that as well. Thank you very much.
And
Thank
happy
you,
Transgender Day of Visibility!
Happy
Yes,
Transgender
congratulations everyone for being
Visibility!
visible.
Thank you.
Love you
Jonty
all.